So my comment here links back to someone else's comment saying that they feel silly using herbs. It feels too much like potions. And I totally get that. In my early practice for many years, I didn't care to use herbs much. Really, if you think about it, in ancient practices, they did not use herbs flippantly. The way we use herbs now is really a result of the internet, and also before that, the popularization of Wicca. But if you think about it, like hundreds of years ago, sugar, super expensive. Cinnamon, super expensive if you could get it at all where you were. Like the Greeks and the Celts and the Romans and the Egyptians, they weren't like sprinkling their candles with lavender. Each herb they used had a function, and typically it was for, you know, smoking something or healing, also sometimes cursing or poisoning. They weren't just like, you know, sprinkling mugwort around a spell. They may have been using it for like dream work or meditative purposes. That's a hard word. And that also doesn't mean that people weren't collecting things that grew around them. Like Pliny the Elder wrote about the Druids collecting mistletoe in this incredibly complex ritual, and that wasn't necessarily used for medicinal purposes. It was used to keep the animals fertile, and they would collect it and have to cut it with like a golden sickle. So that's one example of, you know, how historically the herbs weren't always used medicinally or meditative, forget it. But again, that was things that were found, you know, on land that you lived on. So like if you're walking around and you saw an acorn, you picked it up and you put it in your pocket for luck, that would be more of the way to use herbs if you're not using them for healing. Now, in my early years of practice, I didn't use a lot of herbs. I found more value in using paper and pen and broken glass and mirrors and nails, dirt and water, sometimes incense, which is herbs. But other than that, like I didn't have a whole like shelf with herbs on it. So you know what? I did use herbs in my early practice, but I would always use those in the form of tea. So I became very interested in like herbal teas and how to, you know, use those. So I guess that would be about as far as that went for a long time. And even now, I would say that using herbs is probably maybe about 20% of the magical practice that I do, maybe less. Also like yarn and ribbon and cord and poppets and clay. Love clay. You don't have to use herbs if you don't want to. It's not going to make or break a witch, especially in modern times. If you are not out there trying to heal people physically and you don't want to necessarily incorporate herbs into your spell work, you don't have to. You're still a witch. Hope that helps.